The first murder in human history was committed by a son of Adam. His brother's blood soaked into the earth. He buried the body. And then, the Quran goes silent. It tells us nothing of what came next, where Qabil went, what he did, what became of his children. But the world did not stop turning, and the early Muslim scholars preserved fragments of a story so dark that it would eventually require a flood to wash it away. If you have not watched our previous video, The First Murder, pause this one and watch that first. We covered the full story there. The two sons of Adam alayhi salam, the sacrifice that was rejected, the jealousy, the murder, the crow. This video picks up where that one ended. Qabil had buried his brother. The Quran tells us in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 31, that he became regretful. But it does not tell us if he repented. It does not tell us where he went. It does not tell us what he did. It simply lets him walk away. Here is where this video begins. Here is where the Quran goes silent. But the early Muslim scholars preserved fragments, stories passed down from older traditions, from the people of the book. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave us clear guidance on how to handle these stories. A Sahih Hadith, in Sahih Bukhari, Hadith number 4485. He said, "Do not believe the people of the book, nor disbelieve them, but say, we believe in Allah and what is revealed to us." So understand what follows. It is not Quranic truth. It is not from Sahih Hadith. It is what the early scholars recorded, what the world carried for centuries, what the books of Tafsir preserved. Believe it or don't. But know that this is the story they preserved, and it is darker than you think. According to the Tafsir of Ibn Kathir and al-Tabari, after Qabil buried his brother, he could not face his father. Adam alayhi salam was the first prophet, the first man, the man who had walked in paradise, and now his son had killed his other son. The scholars say Adam wept for 40 days. 40 days without food. 40 days without speaking. 40 days mourning the son, and during those 40 days, Qabil fled. The Tafsir says he went east. Some narrations say he settled in what is today Yemen. Others say he went further, into the land that is now India. He took his wife with him, and he never returned. Adam alayhi salam never saw him again. But what Qabil did next is what changed humanity. Because he did not just disappear into the wilderness. He built something. And what he built was the foundation of every sin that would lead to the flood of Nuh alayhi salam. Qabil had children, many children. The scholars say his line multiplied quickly, but they were not raised the way Habil's children were being raised. Habil's line, and the line of his other brothers, they remembered Adam. They remembered the teachings. They remembered Allah. Qabil's line did not. The Tafsir preserves something extraordinary about what happened in his settlement. His descendants, according to these older traditions, invented things the world had never seen before. The first stringed instruments, the first flutes, the first music to accompany drinking and dancing, the first wine, the first idols carved from stone. This is what the Tafsir of al-Tabari records, drawing from older Israeliyat traditions. The scholars say this was the beginning of human entertainment for its own sake. Not worship, not remembrance, just pleasure, just distraction, just forgetting. And forgetting is exactly what Qabil wanted. He wanted to forget what he had done. His children wanted to forget what their father was. And so they built a society around forgetting. Meanwhile, far from Qabil's settlement, Adam alayhi salam was teaching his other sons, and among them was a son born after Habil's death, a son who would become a prophet himself. His name was Shis, and his line would lead to every prophet that came after, all the way to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So humanity split, two lines, two worlds. The line of Shis, the believers, the rememberers, the ones who carried the teachings of Adam alayhi salam, and the line of Qabil, the forgetters, the corrupted, the ones who built civilizations on music and wine and idols. For generations, these two lines stayed apart, the believers in the mountains, the corrupted in the valleys. Adam alayhi salam had warned his line. He said, "Do not go down to them. Do not mix with them, because if you see what they have built, you will want it." And for generations, the line of Shis obeyed. But then a man from the line of Shis went down, just to look, just once. He saw the women of Qabil's line, beautiful, adorned, dancing to music, drinking wine, and he wanted them. He brought one back to the mountain. Then another man went down, then another, and the wall between the two lines began to crack. This is how the scholars explain the world that Nuh alayhi salam would inherit. Not a world that turned bad all at once, a world that was poisoned slowly, from one line, from one settlement, from one man who could not face what he had done. By the time Nuh alayhi salam was born, the two lines had become one. The idols that Qabil's descendants had carved, Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, and Nasr, these were no longer just stones in a valley. The Quran mentions them by name, in Surah Nuh. These idols had spread across the entire world. People worshipped them. People forgot Allah. And the line of Shis had become so small that when Nuh alayhi salam preached for 950 years, only a handful believed him. And so Allah sent the flood, to wash away the corruption that had started with one murder, one brother killing another. And here is the part almost no one talks about. What happened to Qabil himself? He did not die in the flood. He died long before. But the way he died was its own kind of punishment. The Tafsir of al-Tabari records this. Qabil lived for hundreds of years. He grew old. He grew blind. He grew weak. And one of his own descendants, a hunter, was out one day with a bow. He could not see well in the distance. He thought he saw an animal moving in the brush. He drew his bow. He fired. The arrow struck Qabil in the chest. The hunter ran to see what he had killed and found his own ancestor. The first murderer in history, killed by accident by a member of his own line. Allah knows best whether this happened. It is not in the Quran. It is not in Sahih Hadith. But this is what the scholars preserved. There is one Sahih Hadith, and only one, that the Prophet ﷺ said about Qabil after the murder. In Sahih Bukhari, he said, "No soul is killed unjustly, except that a portion of the sin falls on the first son of Adam, because he was the first to establish the practice of murder." Every murder, since the beginning of time, a portion of that sin falls on Qabil. He is still paying for what he started.